As loud as it can go, my first words of the day. So late, I'm in the afternoon here. Welcome everyone as I continue my journey along with you. Thank you for joining me. Artist Journal, October 4th, 2024. Speaking into the world. Letting those sound waves echo off this window in front of me. My name's Adrian Pocobelli. Plenty of mystery for you today. It's pretty amazing. I continue to marvel here 2 years later at the incredible art that just shows up in the last 48 hours. It is quite something. So there's a lot to get through today. Excitingly, as I said, I think last show, it's kind of the work tells me how long this show needs to be in large respect, based on the limits of time that I have, shall we say. But before I go on too long here, let us begin. Look at this gorgeous work here by Uxine, and big happy Friday. Beautiful work by Uxine here, a stunning work, deceptively stunning. There's so much, I want to say art, there's so much technique in this work, and where to begin? What shall we say? First of all, the color. You have these very, what I'd call modern color combinations. This isn't the kind of color combination you would see typically in 1960s pop art or abstract expressionism or, you know, pick your movement, surrealism. This is an inherently modern palette, I would argue. Perhaps it's the neon. Perhaps it's almost that blacklight palette, shall we say. And there's Uxine, almost like hip-hop, style here, like a hip-hop album cover. UCZ, I love it. Choose Freedom, Web Zero, and there's always satire inherent here. But first of all, the palette strikes. One of the great combinations is this kind of violet and neon, would we call that neon red, neon pink, neon orange, whatever you want to call it. So, and then there's Chronic. Almost, maybe there is a bit of a hip-hop thing going on here. There's Chronic in this really gorgeously painted, what looks like basically pastiche, being largely influenced, we might say, by Greek vase imagery, or Greek vases, like the vase itself, as well as the structure of the painting. It's been a while. Of course, I did a whole series, the Peloponnesian War, where I kind of celebrate to a certain degree and appropriate a lot of the art on Greek ancient Greek vases. So I'm trying to remember, and it's escaping me. There are a couple of very famous painters, Greek vase imagery painters. Maybe I'll try and remember to bring that up, and we can maybe explore it. I would do a search, but there's simply too much to go through, and it is late here. It is late in the day, as they say. So we have this kind of structure here, kind of flattened, though, using it more as, you see I said all the technique and the art. You see Uxine's design bona fides, just like his background in design. The visual, as I always call it, dexterity. And you see it here with this kind of very nicely done. It's almost like the torn paper, right? And sort of similar to Warhol, who I call a great designer of art, and he is one of my favorites, one of my biggest influences, I'd say, is Warhol. Just in the work, I love that in an artist. I need to be more prolific. It's hard with this show. I was having this discussion yesterday with someone, but the ethos of Warhol as well, and then, taking one print and then making a million things out of one thing, this kind of mass reproduction, so to speak. I love that. But one of the things that you'll notice if you go to a lot of Warhol shows is the torn paper that he'll often use to print on. If it's not framed and kind of covered over, which often it is with the Passepartout. And so when I see torn paper, and of course a graphic designer, Andy Warhol, and here we see the power of studying graphic design. Of course, I did that as well in Montreal there for 5 years, was it? Where you're forced to learn the ins and outs of design. It's great discipline as an artist, as a visual discipline, and I think you see the payoff here, right? And there you see 666 in these not perfect pixels, in these not perfect imperfect squares. And here we have a gargoyle sitting on one of these, Greek columns here, the kind that you might even find on a Google search, right? That a designer might have already sort of, abstracted from a Greek column. Here are some Greek column imagery, and then Uxine does his own thing on it. Choose Freedom, Web Zero, of course, doing Web Zero for a long time, and the happy and the sad face, the pixelated, totally original, by the way. Immediately recognizable as an Uxine happy face, you might say. Interesting move on the hourglasses and the cursors here, employing another technique. Interestingly, really interesting design decision. A flat, an interesting mix, you might say, of flatness, two-dimensional, as we see kind of graphic elements with the hourglass, and three-dimensional elements like we see with this gargoyle sitting on this side. And even here, we see this very flat structure, almost like it's like an outline of a vase. There's no three-dimensionality to the vase, and that's being used as kind of a compositional device, we might say, with, again, what seems like, it looks like a hip-hop album cover, a lot of this. And then in here, all of a sudden, it's like a whole other image with volume, and we see the evolution of Uxine's color palette here too, which even it might look like there's a green in there. In that, interestingly, looks like there may be a green in there. So, repeat yesterday, eyes, and then here we have, I guess, finally. There's so much to look at here. There's so much information, and this beautifully painted, these kind of monks here, or abbots, whatever they are. And then here you see an atomic sign within this kind of halo, which is also kind of functions as a sun. Interesting kind of punning here, visual punning. And then here we see a surveillance camera. Interesting. I mean, what is this? 2024, which is the year, hilariously, but it almost looks like a MasterCard. I don't even know if that's on purpose logo. So you see why Uxine is doing so well. The reverse copyright, kind of a pretty epic work. The check mark and the X, chronic. And then even for good measure, let's put a few pyramids in the background. Really epic stuff. And then you zoom out again. Artifact 02, edition of 33. And my friends, you can own one of these for a mere $18.10. That's pretty good. I guess that's what happens. I guess there's some flipping going on, as will happen with Uxine. So opportunity knocks. Let's just look at the listings here. Yeah, so there's a lot of opportunity here to still pick this up. I mean, how much was this to, let's just see, only 13 Tezos. No wonder the flippers came in. Only 13 Tezos. Yeah, so gorgeous, gorgeous work from Uxine. Let's take a quick look at Uxine's page. In the spirit of keeping this show short, let's take a look at Uxine's page. Yeah, just a spectacular work. Now, for those, this must be Artifact 01. How interesting. I remember this. So March 13th. Look at that. Just very, very, very cool. You see the evolution as well. It's a lot more complex, the next one, but a lot of the spirit, you have these same kind of pixels in here. So very cool. This one looks static, right? Let me just show you very quickly. For those that don't know, Uxine's got a very interesting history on object, I believe out of Turkey, if I'm not mistaken. And look at this. Like, you can go back to December 28th, 2021, and look at what Uxine is working on. Okay? Isn't that funny? Where you see even that matte black, that is so signature, I would say, nonlinear history. So you see the interest is there. And I remember, like, and it was putting together what I'd call metaphysical works, like where you see this maze, you have the little guy, and that stuff still carries over, I would argue, to the modern Uxine or to recent Uxine works. But there was kind of like, that was a thing, you might say, for Uxine. And then it started to get towards kind of what I would call, for lack of a better term, what I'd call like the crypto art phase, so to speak, where you see, surveillance cameras, even the color, the palette starts to turn into this kind of purple, violet, and kind of neon green. And it really gets explored a lot. Some real classics here, like this one. And this stuff really, this is when I would argue Uxine blew up. And then, of course, then Xcopy gave the kind of famous handshake there. And Uxine's market went insane. Let me not open too much here. Let me not open too much. Oh, yeah, there's some classics, though. I picked up a lot of these. This is a classic. Kind of looks like William Burroughs' Question Authority. I'll open one more. We have a few, right? So these are classic. Just very quickly, before I test this computer's capabilities any further, Artificial Desire. And you see, not cheap, 420. These are editions, 850. Real classics here. There's so much wealth on and I mean in terms of intellectual capital, on the Tezos blockchain. It's remarkable. And across, the entire ecosystem of crypto, art on, blockchain, art on the blockchain, we might say. Because not all art on the blockchain is crypto art, we might say, you could argue. So just really cool work. Of course, homage to Duchamp, Digital Fountain. This was a classic. Yeah. So, retro technology and everything. So, yeah, so for those that are maybe newer to the situation here, yeah, there you go. A little bit of Uxine kind of, and then you can go back and then you go, wow. Then you see, again, like all of the thinking, it's a real, what would you call it? A force, a kind of force, let's call him a force of nature, shall we? Islay, who of course I follow. Thank you. Thank you for hilarious. Okay, so we see Islay's work on the show, and then applying, I believe, no reference, Monica and Pocobelli screenshot glitch GIF by Islay based on D-Paint drawing featured at 116. So hilarious. Kind of looks like that software we're looking at, doesn't it? And all the different kind of renditions it can bring. So pretty cool. Look at that. Thank you, Islay. Rad. And let me just bring this up. Thank you, everybody, for the support. And let's check out the comments. Nick Appel, completely hooked. This is thrilling. I remember seeing this. 4 likes on that, too. I mean, want to binge watch all the episodes now? Well, it'll take you probably a year of your life. I wonder how much time, maybe I have that in my stats, how much recorded time it would take. I imagine it's in like 150 hours, if I had to guess. But thank you. Really nice to hear that, Nick Appel. Welcome. Roon Toon, the opening piece is incredible. Brilliant. You are totally right. This could be shown anywhere. Magnificent. And of course, referring to what's, it's tempting to call this a masterpiece, which was actually, and I didn't realize, this work here by Zozo. I didn't realize it was commissioned by August Ground, who has to take some credit there, is at least saying, hey, can you do an Icarus for me? Very cool. And how thrilled August Ground must have been to get that in the mail. A Zozo masterpiece, you could argue. And by the way, I was mentioning Ovid, since we're on the topic. Because remember I was like, is that book 2? It's book 8. I actually read it this morning. Interestingly, so at the end of book 1 and at the start of book 2 of Ovid's Metamorphoses, You get the story of Phaethon, is how you pronounce it, Phaethon, and who is the son of, and the name is going to escape me again, but of the sun, the Sun, so is the descendant of the sun and wants to ride the chariot and everything. So that's at the end of book 1 and at the beginning of book 2 of the Metamorphoses, and then that's actually fairly, it's a few hundred lines, which is a lot for Ovid's, putting a little story. Interestingly, Icarus, it's like 50 lines. It's a very short story. And you know what surprised me? I read both this morning just because it's like, okay, here's an excuse. I should know what I'm talking about here. And you know what's interesting about that story, which I didn't even really, even though I've read the Metamorphoses twice, but it's so late in the book, you're kind of just reading and you're not, okay, there's Icarus, you're continuing. When I read it kind of fresh to go like, okay, what's going on in the Icarus myth? Daedalus, the dad, is actually flying with him the whole way, and he's saying, just follow me. Don't go off course. Don't go too high. Don't go too low. Just follow me. They are very similar myths, or kind of, experience telling non-experience to chill, or father telling, son, in this case, I guess the same with Phaethon. Same thing, the son telling its son, SON to chill. Right, don't get too out of control, and so Daedalus was actually ahead, and during that time, Icarus goes up and says, "Oh, I can do anything," and then Daedalus looks back in the air as they're flying from Crete, and I almost feel like I was at the palace, not the Knossos where I was as well, but the again, I'll wrap this up here, but the what is, I want to call it Malia, the Malia Palace, where they have like these workshops and everything. And Daedalus is supposed to have come from Crete, and then he was sailing towards, it was when they were close to Samos, crossing the Cyclades, all those islands. And Samos is supposed to be beautiful, by the way. I've never been there. I want to go. And you don't hear people talking about Samos. It's supposed to be beautiful. I think, who came? Heraclitus, I think, came from Samos. Is that right? Or is it Parmenides? Anyways, a little Greek mythology there to spice it up here. Let's continue. Thank you for the comment, Roon Toon. Quasi Objetto, interesting work by Rosatio. Yeah, that was great. That homage was very cool. I just love Kossuth's 3 chairs, and I've always thought that a 4th chair is missing nowadays, the one inscribed on a blockchain. It would represent, right, because I think we had the definition, then we had the image, and maybe this is what is being referred to here. It would represent its digital version, which is neither the image nor the description, and obviously not the physical one either. Though the blockchain itself is somewhat physical, as it relies on computer nodes through submarine cables. Yeah, very good point. So maybe it's the perfect mix of the other 3. Anyways, thanks for keeping up the show. Always inspiring and informative. You're more than welcome. Thank you, Quasi Objetto. Yeah, I think I was telling heck in the space that we did a few weeks ago, I'll probably do this till the end of my life, really. But I will take breaks here and there. It's almost like seasons, I'm starting to realize in my mind, because sometimes I'll go away. I'm going to North America for Christmas, so it'll be sporadic in there, in December. But until then, it should be pretty regular. So anyway, thank you for the support. Appreciate it. Tornado Rodriguez, thanks my dear lovely Poco for showing my process video. And we have another work by Tornado today and saying it's a good marketing tool. I spend so much time doing that kind of video, editing, and also taking the time to record, while sometimes I'm drawing, super chill, and forget to record. Yeah, that's funny. Also, you can show them with audio. Don't worry about copyright. For this kind of thing, is that I use the YouTube Studio audio library. They have a big selection on songs and sounds without copy for people to use on their videos. It was great music, wasn't it? That kind of 8-bit sound. That's pretty good stock audio. Anyway, thank you for the comment, Tornado. Wonderful work. Eduardo Pulitzer. Hey, thank you for showing those new artworks. We have another one. They're 100% digital, Procreate and Aseprite, but Procreate mostly, right? So I was looking, it kind of looked like there was kind of a based on a physical, so that has been corrected. Ed Marola says these are purely physical, Procreate and Aseprite. There is no, it sounds like no source, photo source or whatnot that started. Thank you for the comment. Great to hear from you, Ed. And fingers crossed on X in Brazil. Otherwise, follow Ed on Instagram. Maybe, and Ed, you should post more on Instagram. It's a good way for people to track what you're doing. Roon Toon. I believe Joshua made the comment. So back to the contemporary art discussion. Is contemporary art the new modern art? My question. I need to put a poll together, maybe. I believe Joshua made the comment he made because he wanted to emphasize exactly what Sabato stated in response. That there's nothing objectively better about the Web3 artists we look at over established contemporary artists, and that they are all evenly matched. It's not really my sense of what he was saying, but let's continue. When you say something like contemporary art should die, there's not a lot of room for a reader to infer that you like any contemporary artists. Yeah, it probably was a communication issue. I think it was. I think we kind of ironed out, actually, the communication. But let's see. I'm assuming this is why Joshua was compelled to respond. I'm thankful he did. But from a market perspective, these two camps of art and artists are not evenly matched. Interesting kind of rhetorical device here, Roon Toon. It's like you've been taking classical rhetoric. I agree with everything you're saying. However, we often don't talk politics, which maybe is a good thing, but I agree entirely with Sabato that the establishment art market needs to die entirely, but not the artists, and the establishment wealth class along with it. And I think in terms of it being industry, not the actual people, I think the class, a category, I think is what Roon Toon is saying. I love seeing that collectors are losing money at auction. We call that in Germany Schadenfreude, to enjoy when things are going badly for someone. Classic. I love seeing that collectors are losing money at auction. I don't really think that there is any need for art to fetch 6, 7+ figure sales. Well, I think there's a time and a place, you know, but yeah, have people been overpaying? Well, that's what we're seeing. That is being revealed in the contemporary art market, isn't it? It's absurd. It poisons the well. When I see a painting sell for millions and an equally compelling Zuozo sell for 80 Tezos, it befouls the true value of art, which is invaluable. Yeah, it also kind of screams opportunity, doesn't it? I mean, August Ground, to his credit, commissioned it, so completely deserved getting it, that work. But, I mean, picked it up for 80 Tezos. I mean, that is like $50. And, I mean, I was looking at this, like, what a crazy start to the video yesterday when you're looking at this crazy orb, you know, that's Icarus. Yeah, like, what an unbelievable work of art. And again, it's so simple, something most people will be familiar with, the myth of Icarus in one form or another. And I think kids would enjoy it, you know, but totally avant-garde digital imagery. I mean, it kind of has it all. And picked up for $50. This is the greatest, so I'm loving it. You know, to quote our friends at McDonald's here. As I'm sure Sabato would agree, the fact that Zuozo sold a masterpiece for 80 Tezos and a Gerhard Richter just sold for $2 million, is that right? US dollars isn't as simple as two people making different decisions, different art, and getting different results. There is an inherent reappropriation of resources that keeps one, Zuozo, out, and the other, Richter, in. And I think when you speak like this, yeah, then I completely agree. That is what needs to die, which is really this kind of, but you know what? And we're going to come to this later in another tab here. Where I'm at here is what's beautiful about what we have here, which is a credible marketplace, let's say in the form of object, you know, it's just kind of, it looks great and everybody will spend hundreds or thousands. People will do it if they love the work, if they can afford it. They're not, you know, have reservations like they might on eBay, like, should I do this? Even though we're starting to see a pretty thriving little scene on eBay, courtesy of Walk. So all to say, it's not what... For me, it's no longer, oh, I feel kept out. It's more, you can't stop us. You can't stop me. Like, you're going to have to do something and hopefully nothing, but like, all to say, nothing stops me from being able to, do a video here and talk about this art. And I think it's the same thing with this being an artist. Nothing, it's not them keeping you out. It's the fact that you can't stop me as an artist, right? You can't stop them. You can't stop us, however you want to put it. And that's the exciting part about this. And that's why I'm so kind of precious on this free market, it being open. Anybody can participate, but it's also a free market. That combination and a credible platform, that combination, to me, I don't care how much money they have. As long as there is a market where people can make their art and be rewarded for it, and then build a reputation and charge more for their art over time as there's more demand, and build a market for themselves, as long as that exists, which it does now, and I'd argue didn't really exist, right, in a really credible way. You're going to put your paintings on Saatchi, and then they're never going to show your work, and it's never going to be seen. That wasn't credible, right? That wasn't like this, which is like there's a beating heart to this. There's a beating heart to this scene. Now, I should hurry before this video needs to be redone here. I see the camera coming in and out. All right. So let's continue here. Thank you. Interesting comment. And the money is what makes people believe one work is artistically valuable than the other. False. Let it die. Exactly. As I always kind of put it, like the amount spent matters, but it is not the determiner at all. Otherwise, you could just spend a whole bunch of money on schlock and everybody should have to, follow along. But the reason that doesn't work is time. Time finally has its say, as we're seeing with a lot of what's going on in the contemporary art market. Time is having its say. End of story, I would argue. Thank you for the comment, the subtle comment there. Also, let's speed up a bit here. Jan Lucas Magone, thank you for the comment. Always shining. Indeed. Thank you, my friend. Chrome Void, great show as always. By the way, Soulseek still exists and is incredible. And on F respects, so not exactly sure. I haven't clicked on this because I wasn't sure exactly where it goes. But that's amazing. I had no idea that Soulseek still exists. It's kind of hilarious, isn't it, in its own way? Tschüss. Anonymous Hotline. Tschüss is goodbye in German, by the way. Hey, where can I watch these that pays you the most money? Well, so far, nowhere. But feel free to like and retweet and to put likes on or tell your friends about it. Actually, is the best thing you could do. Eventually, I'm going to figure something out, but my mentality here from a financial point of view on this show is it's kind of taking a page out of the tech playbook, which is don't worry about monetization, just kind of keep building and make something that people like and want and enjoy using. You can figure the rest out later. And that's sort of how I approach it, for better or for worse. Let's continue. Madame Usao, GM Poco, great to hear from you. Thank you. Zwozo, thanks a lot. I would love to see my work on a subway somewhere sometimes. Thank you. And actually, Zwozo did a retweet. I keep forgetting to put the quoted retweets. Thank you, Zwozo. Awesome to hear from you. And again, it's a masterpiece. It's a masterpiece. Pedro Jose, 357, let's go. Episode 357, let's go. Enjoyed your art. Thank you. Thank you, Pedro Jose. August Ground, can't wait to watch this. Looks like Zwozo is the lead-in. So excited going on a river trip literally right now, so won't comment until I'm back. The excitement is tangible. Okay, so I should speed up a bit here before this video collapses on itself. It's amazing to see artworks that I already have in my collection. Indeed, that must be pretty awesome. Lepro Chant, also awesome to hear from you. And yeah, I probably... I need to bring up the retweets. I need to start bookmarking those again. That was fun when people comment with the tweet. Anyway, let's continue. Just a quick look at the community here. Rural Idol, Static Hazard, a first trip to the osteopaths and pass through the process. Of course, Rural Idol works with these very kind of, I would say, symbolic imagery like birds and hills and mountains. Nice texture on this one from Rural Idol. Big shout out. I guess that's an ad. 3D printing. Not sure who this person is. Bleak. Yo, Pocobelli. Actually, we have a few works by Bleak this episode. Beachgrass Windsong, this is actually in this week's episode, so I will continue here and show later, but it's beautiful, and nice little thing happens here, as you see. Look at that. Cool piece. I bring it up later in the show with the glitch videos. Thank you for posting. Retro Manny, playing with this eye in a Limbo. So Retro Manny and Limbo, I don't know if they're collaborating. Limbo's saying, Retro Manny is working on an amazing low rendition of mine, low poly rendition of mine, and his character for an upcoming Artvania space we'll have together. So a little bit of collaboration there. And yeah, distinctly Limbo. That eye in the TV. Plague, actually, we have this in the AI section. Thank you for posting. Very cool. Lejo X with a work here, Turnpike Invasion. So cool work here by Lejo X. Kind of an abstract animation. Here's Zizo. And Zizo, try and only post once a week if you can, just to give everybody else space, but cool drawing here. And Bleak, another work here, and we'll also see this one. Actually, this episode. So thank you for posting. And Libro Block, cool work here, 2.5 Tez, an animated abstract. There's even some music. Very cool. Sound on. Okay, awesome. Awesome. And Jose Narciso, trying to raise some money, Brazilian artist. Pretty cool. So here they are, and pretty cool painter, aren't they? So that is posted in the community, Kurt Hustle Collective, and of course we showed this work yesterday. Totally rad. And Fatima, Heart Has Hidden Treasures, so a drawing here and everything. And here's a large version of Retro Manny's work on chain. Totally rad. Here's Lejo X again. Kind of looks like a physical, doesn't it? So thank you everybody for posting here. Totally cool. Fungible. Artists really have so many choices these days. Editions, one of one, dynamic, on which blockchain, X, Y, or Z blockchain, marketing, pricing, free platform, private sales, auctions, allow list, reserve, mint on request. I think this is part of the reason, so just paralyzed with options. I think this is part of the reason why Tezos is actually doing well. Because it's very simple on Tezos. You post your work, you pick the edition and the price, and you kind of forget about it. Otherwise, it's like, it's interesting, like even the tabs, you see the all the tabs here, look at how much are object. That's not how it used to be. Like it started out all object, then I kind of went multi-chain, but I'm just finding, I'm just not getting a ton of stuff on Foundation. There's 3 Rodeo works, these Capin works, that's it. I think there's 1 Zora work, right? It's interesting, isn't it? So blockchains and smart contracts can enable and enhance things by orders of magnitude, both as mediums and value capture mechanisms, but they can't abstract the work. Shout out to everyone doing their best to navigate it all. It must be exhausting. Yeah, it's a lot, I think, for artists to navigate. That's why I'm kind of like, I feel like we're seeing, ever since the free mint thing happened, kind of a weird, maybe not weird, maybe a not so weird resurgence of Tezos. And it's sticking. Like there is a sense, and they just announced a whole bunch of galleries actually. That'll be, I guess, in next show, I'll show that. But like there is a sense that there's a stickiness to Tezos. And I've heard like blockchain people say, well, yeah, but I'm not sure you'd want to put your work on Tezos because of, you know, is that going to be around in 5 years and all this sort of thing. And that, you know, not as, I guess, secure as it. I'm not an expert on these things, but I've heard skepticism towards putting your art on the blockchain itself. But nevertheless, I see kind of a stickiness happening here. Like there's a kind of consolidation to a certain degree that's going on there. And it's not exclusive. And there's always, you know, a million other things going on. But it is, to me, it's notable what's going on there. Edding Mattress, who's making these great ASCII works. Almost got hacked. Thought I was having an interview and told me to download a video call app. Yeah, never download anything. Be careful what links you click on, much less downloading a video call app. When opening the DMG, which is like a zip file on my Mac, it said to drag a script into the terminal. That's when I started doing research and found out the whole thing was a scam. Be careful. Indeed. Yeah, like I barely like even see that Chrome Void link, and I like Chrome Void and everything. But I don't just click on links even. Like I'm pretty cautious about that stuff. At least I try to be. So just another reminder, don't lose all your stuff for no reason, especially to someone who's trying to scam you. Max Osiris, hope all this VC pumped standard issue stuff goes badly and proves that you can't buy your way into the culture. Yeah, what is I think Shape is the latest. But interestingly, like I haven't seen anything on, and then maybe it's just my timeline. It's not like I'm seeing all this stuff from Shape that I'm like, I have to, make sure this, So bribing artists with lotteries rigged by the few is not the way for a sustainable, healthy, decentralized art market. And again, it's kind of back to Tezos, where I think we're seeing an interesting, it's not just a consolidation of sorts. And I still I'm putting stuff on Bitcoin more than I am on Tezos right now. But nevertheless, and Bitcoin's at those are my two favorites, and maybe ETH, right? Just because, in terms of, it being around for a while. Let's look at the mempool very quickly. Yeah, look at how low. So anybody that wants to put artwork on Bitcoin, we're at 2 VBS. It's not going to get much better than this. It doesn't get any better than this. I don't think it's going to 1. I mean, you can look. This is what you do. There's 1 over here. Maybe it goes down to 1. I mean, where we can mint for almost nothing. I've heard, Bitcoin computing at some point here in the future, this is going to be some of the most expensive prime real estate you can ever own. So take advantage. If you're an artist and you want to put your art on Bitcoin, now is the time. Let's continue. Mr. K, I'm not interested in free mints anymore because I'm not clear on how they actually support artists. Very open to being educated or why they matter at all, besides marketplaces earning micro revenues at scale. It kind of feels like the ship has sailed a little bit on this, doesn't it? Even myself, I was buying a few waffles and a Cap'n and a couple of nubs but even just to load this thing up, and it's weird. The fun, the joy of collecting, sure, I'm happy to get it. But it's not the same kind of, it's weird. In a sense, you kind of weirdly appreciate, maybe it's not weird at all. You kind of appreciate it more when you're paying for it. Interestingly. It's so, if you did a thought experiment, if Waffles put the work for sale on Object, there'd probably be more weirdly. I could see there being, just even for my own, I'd probably be like, oh, what's this? A new Waffles work, So go figure. Go figure. So interesting observation. Look at this. Martin Bruce collected by Vincent van Gogh. Very happy my work Attic has been collected by Vincent van Gogh. Thank you very much. Of course, Vincent van Gogh, kind of with Die with the Most Likes, kind of buying everything in sight and really kind of juicing, shall we say, that market. So interesting to see Vincent van Gogh, prominent collector primarily on ETH, buying some Martin Bruce, an interesting choice of work. Sabato, tomorrow, Divine Glitches and Profane Comedies goes live at 1 p.m. Eastern, which is today, actually. So I'm really excited to bring 4 new works by Raz Algave as part of the series The Passion. Yeah, this one really stood out to me. I thought this was brilliant. I've never seen a Passion or a Crucifixion done with this digital style. Quite brilliant. And there's something to be said. It's kind of like Zuozo doing Icarus. When you start making the historical references, here, like we see here, it really does add a layer of meaning, right? And this is the business we're in, I would argue. We're in the business as artists, we're in the business of meaning, significance, right? I would argue. So it just adds, when you start having when you start engaging with history, whether it's real world events, whether it's art history, other artists, everything, it really does kind of add a level of significance, which I would argue increases value. If this was just, some random thing from modern times that had no kind of reference, I'm not sure it'd be as exciting for me. But seeing something so digital, of such a traditional kind of subject done with such digital, kind of modern digital experimentation, that becomes super interesting. And all of a sudden I can place it. It's in the history of crucifixions, I can now place this work. All of a sudden it has it's part of a narrative all of a sudden. Anyways, so some GLBs here. Looks super interesting. Sabato doing some curation. Retro Manny pixel art legend Stalamir is now minting on-chain with Tezos. Very cool, as all pixel artists should, I would argue. And don't say I didn't warn you. Like, doesn't it just make it feel that much more valuable? Right? As the camera flickers on and off, let me speed up a bit. Mark Maurer, just here, very cool. Let's look at this large, showing how precise you can get. I never get tired of looking at these pen plotters. Pretty amazing how precise you can get. Still have never used one, but man, do I want to. Very cool. Doing quite well. 20,000 views. Very cool. Oh, let me just halt that. Another look at this work by Lily Illo. July Kelowna Contemporary. Junie is one of my favorite works from Lily Illo projects, Portraits from the Memory Palace, working diligently on placing the work in a deserving collection, so still available. This gorgeous physical. Again, AI printed on wood. Very interesting. This was also interesting as we wrap up the opening section here. OHDE, next Monday on Object, we're dropping the 6x9 or 6 of 9 piece of the collection Crochet. And so mixing digital with crochet. Very cool. Looks great. Great contrast. Wonderful contrast. And Pixel Lord GM collected awesome book by Rinny Fish. So we saw this book earlier, but I don't know if I've ever seen it quite like this, where we've kind of flipped through it. And it's quite a beautiful book, isn't it? And you see all of Rinny works. We see all of Rinny works. It's a pretty nice book. Sometimes mind-blowing. Great job by Rinny Fish. Shout out to Pixel Lord. And finally, Turo, Modem MT, who I met in Buenos Aires, was on the show, the Neutro special we did. I spent 6 months without being able to paint. It was a hard process, but here we are again. I'm grateful to this ecosystem of artists and collectors to which I belong. To see my friends improve themselves daily, succeed, and grow, it is incredible how much they motivate me. And totally genuine here. A class act, Modem MT, and here's just a very cool painting here. Interesting kind of squares in the background there. So working physically too, I almost wonder if that's oil. Kind of looks like oil. And finally, Bazaya, who of course I follow. You'll be asking why this guy is creating and dropping so much, because Bazaya has been on a tear. First of all, because it is my passion, but the truth is that my best mint is on the way and I need to feed it. The doctor says he looks like me, so there's a little Bazaya, a little Tezos artist here in the waiting here, so feel free to support Bazaya as he brings someone new into the world. Big shout out to Bazaya, and we're going to see a few works by Bazaya this episode. Yuri J, Beautiful Mind. So this came out a couple of days ago. Sounds like after that movie, which I haven't seen, which I have to see. And so classic, beautiful Yuri J. Interesting composition here. And imagery. So here we have some snakes, and the snakes are drawing, and they're almost like they're playing games, aren't they? And there's a notebook, different kind of mark making on the notebook, very interesting. And of course, all these outlines being filled by effects on effects, as we see. And there's the octopus. That is an octopus. These aren't snakes. And there's a sword. And very cool. And this octopus with almost like the 17th century hat is almost, I think you could say, it's almost like we have characters here in digital art on the blockchain, and what would you call it? Not the alias, for lack of a better term. There is a better term for it, but it's kind of reminiscent, you could say, of Max Ernst and Lop Lop, where all of a sudden there's this bird that started appearing in all of Max Ernst's work. Kind of interesting. Actually, kind of a similar thing going on here. Beautiful Mind, beautiful work. 25, edition of 25, sold out at 20 Tezos. Very nice. Another work here, edition of 1, The Last Samurai. So I think we saw this sold for 500 Tezos. The market's getting pretty hot, interestingly, over here. So here, and artists are making a fortune here. Actually, they're making like $700, $1,000 a day. I mean, this is awesome. Here's The Last Samurai. We see a couple, maybe it's one samurai, the octopus again. Pretty rad, cool work. sold for 500 Tezos to Sunday Funday. And Challenger, this is 600 Tezos, and this is also by Yuri J. And looks like, again, maybe the octopus here, but with on the tennis court. So interesting piece there. Beautiful work, nice texture. Continuing on. Also by Yuri J. So this was bought for 40 Tezos. Is this new? It is. It's brand new. So here we have this new kind of textured abstract. This is on the other Yuri J account, where it's kind of perhaps more experimental. And here, what you'll notice is often it's the same kind of outline, but done with different kind of filling, you might say. See this over here, and then you go over here. It's the same shapes, just different filling. So, and why wouldn't you do that if you're Yuri J? So very interesting. And there's another one. You see the similarity there. If you go back, see over here and then over here. Astrologus, so on Brachus, not sure what that means. Sunday Funday picking up another one. How much was that? 123 Tezos. It's getting pretty interesting here from a financial point of view. If you start bringing in, I'd say $100 a day starts to get interesting. You start bringing in $1,000 a day, it starts to get kind of wild. Now, this isn't every day, and there's only so much the market can handle, but this is impressive. This is Mumble Boy, who, of course, was on the space on Wednesday. It was awesome. Airborne Reflection. Very interesting artist out of Japan. Grew up in the U.S. and then moved back to Japan. Very interesting artist. Really helped to actually understand some of the characters that you see, and has been doing this since the 90s. Going back and forth between physical, digital. Super interesting discussion. Do check that out. Here's a one of one, and this is sold for 14 Tezos. Nice work to Skamra. Here is a very rad time. The artist formerly known as Santiago. Interesting negative space here. Kind of helps make the work in its own way. Very interesting. Keeping it new. Love the negative space. Open edition for 3 Tezos, 13 minted. Several items reminding me of everything. And continuing on, good meat after Francis Bacon. So here's RJ, who's also making a fortune. Francis Bacon times die with the most likes, or times and die with the most likes. And here we see some meat with RJ's series here of these figures, almost looking like Greek pottery in colors here. Interesting work, and that is just on X. And here's another one, The Artist and the Fox, AI and Pixel Painting Collage GIF, edition of 1, selling for 404 Tezos or $265. The market is hot. It's pretty impressive. Enigmatras, the magic wand, the power. I'd say, as you see here, you see this selection, this beautiful textured, actually RJ's using it as well. I would say the magic wand is one of the most, if not the most powerful tool in digital art. You'll also see it in Warhol. Remember that little video that you can see with Warhol, and it's like Debbie Harry, and then all of a sudden, how's Warhol doing it? It's the magic wand. It's like, and it's an inherently digital tool. So we see the importance here and the power of the magic wand here as a digital tool, as a selection tool. I think Photoshop, actually, I don't know if I don't think Photoshop invented it, because we saw it with Warhol on the Amiga. So it's a pre-Warhol invention, this idea that you select and then it takes pixels around it based on the threshold, how much you want to take that's away from that original pixel you picked. Beautiful. Here, of course, using the ASCII text, very poetic, keeping it new by Enigmatras. Very, very cool. Doing 1,000 views. Let's continue before the computer crashes. Here, more magic wand. So it's looking pretty rad over here. This is time for the future as the experimentation continues to evolve. Again, ASCII text. We have the visual ASCII, as I call it, and the great texture inside, source image, and you see the masking done with the magic wand as well. Super interesting. And one more. Look how beautiful that is in there. Almost looks like a impressionist work. And there you seem to see the magic wand again, or a selection based on color. Very, 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 very interesting. Taken out, and then, so masked, taken out, removed, and then filling it in with letters of, one color, similar to the color you removed. Pretty rad. And then here we see some visual ASCII creating this wonderful texture here, and then at the bottom a little bit more. Very cool. Amazing. Let's continue. Here's PP Universal Piazza Dental. So continuing the dental theme, and here you see these sampled brushes, part of PP's style here. Very cool work here. We see a screenshot even, and different images from the internet that are sampled, and then some nice textures there. Close-up of teeth by PP Universal, edition of 3, and just listed there. And here is Dan Control, GM. It's I don't know this character. Maybe it's Lula or something. An old character, I think. So classic Dan Control, repetition of a figure that has been drawn out, or any element that has been drawn out with gradients, and then just a beautiful color underneath. Nice choice by Dan Control. More gradients. Of 1914, Desnudo, Pintura de Tarsila do Amaral, made by me. So taking another homage here. Beautiful, beautiful work as ever from Nuv 1914. Selling out at 14 Tezos, I believe. Indeed. So Nuv, more people, again, who, if this continues or even gets bigger, the implications are pretty wild, because all of a sudden you're going to have a whole bunch of independent artists. That's crazy. Let's continue. Umbrella Manifesto, speaking of which. I remember an early episode where I hit stop on the video instead of stop on the art piece. So I'm always very careful ever since. Anyways, let's see what happened with this Vozo here. Selling out at 15 Tezos each, edition of 10, bringing in a cool, basically $100. Great work, and now 55 Tezos on secondary. Love this edge here. Look at that. I don't know if you can see that. How cool is that? Here's Mishi Asu, another interesting talent here, daydreaming, another challenging artist. As you see here, interesting, almost looks like a picture of a screen, but who knows how this was made. Daydreaming, sold to Absurd Deity for 11 Tezos. Here's another one, Small Planet. And it looks like a goldfish in a little aquarium, or is that a lamp? Not sure. Very wild work. Look at this texture here. This is an edition of 1, also selling to Absurd Deity for 11 Tezos, and Sabato picking up this work, A Room. So isn't it wonderful that you can make such challenging experimental art? And here, not only do we have brilliant artists, we have brilliant collectors who, sophisticated collectors who go, oh, this looks good. This is interesting. This is challenging. So supporting challenging artists. So again, it's, as long as the free market stays here and we have a credible platform and it's open, it's just a matter of time before I think the world starts going, why this and not this, right? Friday Thoughts, The Three Philosophers. Again, I feel like I know all these works, but I don't. It's kind of the part of the magic of Walk's series here. 1 of 1. And what I think is brilliant about Walk, this only sold for 3 Tezos, by the way. What I love about Walk's selling style is the simplicity. You put it for 1 Tezos, and whatever it goes for, it goes for. You don't need to think about it as that earlier, remember the quote, the tab with fungible, oh, what do you do? Like all these options. Walk. It goes for €1 on eBay, you guys figure it out. Doesn't matter to me. Very internet, I would argue, part of almost this approach, very philosophical approach. Edition of 1, here's an edition of 1 by Ed Marola, very cool work here, October 3rd. This is 250 Tezos, and nice big, or fairly large pixel art work. Very cool textures here. And we have three figures kind of pixelated out with some digital painting, AI assisted composition, Matisse prompt, made in Procreate Sprite. I love all the information, actually. In a sense, like it didn't need to be revealed, but it's nice to actually see that. Super interesting. Here is Tornado Rodriguez, Hi All, It's Me, edition of 100 for 69 cents. And here is the work. Looks like it was made in Object 98, which is a pastiche of sorts, a technological pastiche of Paint 98 by Microsoft, or a copy, I guess. Very cool work. Hi All, It's Me. So maybe that's Tornado, the alias of Tornado, or the name that's escaping me, the word that's escaping me here. So quite a few sold. 46 already sold. Impressive. Here is Sophie Ogura, RIP Twitter. A brand new work, a very interesting kind of pixel artist. I don't know if pixel artist is the right word, but uses these very low kind of resolution pieces. Like what is this, 300, maybe 600 by 600, maybe 800 by 800, with these very interesting kind of compositions. And look at this, there's Twitter kind of blowing up there. Super interesting artist. Edition of 8, only 360. And there's Absurdity. Absurdity is very bullish on this scene, which is awesome. Let's continue. Cool work there by Sophia Ogura. Here's Pinky Blue. Hello, I'm Pinky Blue, and another just kind of cool pixel art work. I tell you, I'm kind of back to my little song and dance that Bitcoin, this screams Bitcoin. If you start getting a whole bunch of art that like this on Bitcoin, who knows what happens? And as we saw, the mempool there, it's really cheap. Let's just put it that way. Tradscape. Cool pixel artwork. Kind of looks like a flying whale, doesn't it? So I had this on my plane flight to Queenstown, New Zealand. When did y'all see your first flying whale? Maybe right now. Tradscape, who of course I follow, who makes the music for this program, who made the music for the beginning and end of this program, which is meant to be Expulsion, another work by Tradscape, which just sold for 111. Nice work. Couple of bids put in for a 1 of 1 by Tradscape, and gorgeous work here. So also looking like a waterfall, and again, this is probably based on an old painting, this time Thomas Cole. Very interesting selection. We saw Niagara Falls last time. That was gorgeous. Don't Buy, who I think has launched a new series on, there's a drop or something. Look at how cool this is. Cool way of doing a still life. So Don't Buy, Immortals. Cool title too. And here is Stalka, working on a new drop. Where should I mint this? So the questions and questions. Yeah, where should this be minted? I don't know. Probably, if you want the quick sales, probably on Object. Very cool work. Love the user interface there. Really interesting, subtle work by Myth. Myth Sun number 35. This sold to 200 Tezos. This scene is hot, isn't it? And for good reason. There is Michael Jackson, one of the Myth Sons, and we saw the last one go for, I think, 800 Tezos. This is really rad. And again, the Myth's revolutionary white background here. Very nice piece. Beautiful. Just very cool Microsoft Paint and other tools. So nice a lot of bidding going on there. And let's continue. Baziah, who is having a child, Mass Thrower. So very cool new works by Baziah here. It just goes to show sometimes it's good to have that financial imperative, because then it's like, oh, where can I make some money? Oh, I should make some art. And before you know it, you're making a bunch of art that people love, right? That's why, again, I'm kind of back to this free market. It's good. Mass Thrower. So here, Magician, Strange Thing. I mean, just awesome. Sunday Funday buying a ton. Only 5 Tezos. Super reasonable prices. Here's another one. Utopian Player, edition of 10 by Baziah. And here, look at all the detail in this. And I believe made on the phone. So Baziah working hard to bring in some cash. Go help Baziah out. And everything's selling out, which is awesome. Again, making it super affordable. You want to sell your work? And this is what I tell people who are new. Don't make it too expensive. Like start slow, low, and then work your way up. Even if you're kind of a big deal in the contemporary art scene, don't go too crazy. because then all of a sudden your work stays, you get demotivated. It's much funner to sell at a cheaper price and then kind of work your way up. Here's Cesar. This is a rad. I don't know if this is a work in progress, but I have to say, I love these kind of flat areas contrasting with it's a cool contrast. These flat areas with the kind of more detailed areas and textured areas. Super interesting. Interesting faces here too. Masks. Great piece by Cesar. Very cool. Rosetto with a 1 of 1. So Rosetto back on the scene. There's a diskette and everything, some cool pixelation. This sold to Absurd Deity. This is amazing. 150 Tezos. Boom. 1 of 1. Sold. This is awesome. Darkness, Light Darkness, something like that. Digital collage and digital drawing. Classic Rosetto. And here's Jake Studios holding the future. And there, again, the intuitive artist, Jake Studios. Interestingly, with the bag on the head, looking this way. In Dog We Trust. Red Horse, I guess rather than Red Bull perhaps. And there's a JPEG wrapped up in the hand. And some skulls here on the side. Interesting work. Edition of 1, 7 Tezos at auction. Another work by Jake Studios. This is an edition of 10, and a couple of people boxing with my own shadow. Shadow boxing here, and that is 11 Tezos, and that's an edition of 10. As we continue, Wasteman Goldminovich, the failed artist number 90, self-portrait watching YouTube. And there looks like half cigarette, half straw is the failed artist. Hot dogs for dinner flashing. So hilarious work here. This is me watching a UFO documentary or podcast on YouTube. So great satire there, I think, from Wasteman Goldminovich. This is also funny. A couple of sacks in a corner. So kind of reminiscent a little bit of GloomTube. Like you could show these with the garbage bags in a sense. Cool work selling out. Acid Reindeer owning that one, or edition of 1 sold for 2 Tezos. Pretty good for a Wasteman Goldminovich 1 of 1. Recipes for Disaster. This is September 25th by OMG I Drawed It. And here, a whole bunch of candles, interesting kind of almost comic book structure to a certain degree, and different kind of frames of different areas. Recipes for Disaster, the title in the work. Interesting piece. And we see the candle going out and being lit underneath. Edition of 25, and how many are left here? 4 left. Here's Pamelo Chirone, People of Tezos. And so this is an edition of 1, and this has not been listed yet. So very cool work here, a self-portrait by Pamelo Chirone, making art here, classic work. Very cool. And of course, I am waiting patiently for Murakit to release more masterpieces here. More beautiful work. And so here we're getting just a little bit of a tease here from Murakit of what might be in store. Here's Cap'n, some works on rodeo. And here, let's see if we can make that. I guess it's the same size. So just more interesting, I guess he's calling them jams, kind of pixel art jams by Cap'n. The mint is ended, so if you want it, you missed it, or you got to put an offer in somewhere. Cool work. Brain Dead with some pixel art. It hurts. And putting out a ton of pixel art, I think and look, it's like kind of like a pencil and a bird and a flame at the same time. If I'm not mistaken, edition of 20, 10 Tezos, 1 sold to Skull Takes. And here, Brain Dead 1-bit pixel art version of Inktober. So putting out, I think, a work every day. This is pretty cool, how the dithering gets filled in what looks like a boot, but also could be a vase of some kind or a beaker. And there's Pixtober. So official 2024 prompt list, very cool. Very, very cool. Oh, so I guess that's what you decide to... I guess that's what inspires the work. Boots, so that's boots, all right? That's day 3. Here's backpack from day 1. Very interesting. I think they have Inktober, right? So here it's like Pixtober. And here is backpack. Almost the same background color. Interesting. It's popular colorful gray here. And here's Manadal day 1 backpack. Just another awesome pixel artist. So that's pretty cool to see that. Ultimate Hockey, this is by Byte by Bit. And playing off of, usually they're simulated video games. Copyright 2024, Byte by Bit. And this is made with PC Paint 3.1. And here is Dan Anthony Kelly, Earth has a mini moon for the next 2 months. So working with a news story, a space news story, incorporating it into pixel art, mini moon. Very interesting. Dan Anthony Kelly, who I think does the Draw Dog Tuesday, right? MacBook Pro to mint NFTs, paper class, so Big Boy 666, so interesting McDonald's laptop. This, I'm surprised if this doesn't sell out just by virtue of it being McDonald's and pixel art on a retro laptop. Hilarious. Edition of 10. And here's Takashoshi with Bosque Gracias. It's kind of like an ad. Looks like a pretty cool residency. I'm feeling it. Feeling the Friday. Open call. Wow. Pretty cool. Bosque Gracias, great people, as well as Takashoshi. Nice collab there. Mariana J.U. So who uses, what is the name? I can't remember the name of the software. KidPix. I think this is a KidPix work. Very cool. Of course, Sistrubal Waffles uses a lot of KidPix, as well as Mariana J.U. I should try out, actually, KidPix. Very cool. Look at this. I love this. This is like, it's a weird mix of, here you have like these big pixels, but then you get like kind of these straight lines over here. Like it's quite the contrast, isn't it? And then you get like the pixels that are kind of like floating diagonally here that are, I guess, the crowd. This is a weird work in a good way. Like it kind of, and it's attractive too. Like you're trying to figure it out. Another beautiful day for NASCAR renders. Indeed, like very interesting work. Chris War, I believe, with Mason, aka Mason the Third, and Chris probably doing the audio. Pretty rad, kind of sci-fi pixel art. Not sure where that is posted. They were posting some, I think, on Zora. Promise of Bitopia. Premonition Mystery as we finish here. Slava 3. So it's great to see some work with Slava 3. A lot of classic works by Slava 3 on Tezos. And here you see interesting different size pixels being mixed together. Interestingly, black and white work, edition of 15, and available for $6.90 and half gone. Very cool. Also Rocano, you've got Mail. Good to see Rocano again, and they're playing off of AOL and it's kind of juggling technology and old computers. Edition of 1, 25 Tezos, still available. John Cates with some playing with pixel art and glitch. A difficult combination. Ghost Glitch's Hard Timers. And this sold to Dither, or transferred. Very interesting from John Cates as ever. And even the background there kind of glitched out. Here's another one. Ghost Glitch's Glitchtricity. And here you see this glitched out pixel art. Interestingly. Very interesting. Pioneer of glitch art Western style. Lucas Lejeune. With some interesting work here. File kind of looks like the Matrix beginning there, but it's its own thing. Not sure exactly how this was made, but interesting piece. Edition of 1, selling for 30 Tezos. Nice sale. It's all selling. Ex-Mortal, Autumnal. And this sold, I think, to Sabato, 20 Tezos. This was an edition of 11. And so really kind of cool texture here. This little church in the background, nice little landscape. By Ex-Mortal. Here is Kiro, Scraps. Interesting piece here. Another video painting, as I like to call them. So cool work by Kiro. And here's Klaus as we wrap up here. Composition 338. So it continues. We're zeroing in on 350 here. I think doing one a day. Continuing on. Before this computer dies here, I'm going to speed up. Here's Blake. Okay, so Blake is on the show. We won't go too fast here. So cool kind of goes well with Xmortal here. Some cool kind of pixel or analog video glitch, I think, is what's going on here. I'm not sure if it's analog, but it is glitch. Glitch wave, as it says here, cool kind of landscape. Here's another one. A bleak remix of Absurd Deities, Chihulu Garden Mil Fiore. So I don't even know if I've looked at, I didn't realize Absurd Deity made art too. I'm not sure if we looked at any. We'll have to keep, a mental note is being made here. So cool collaboration there, edition of 10. And another cool work by Bleak, Beachgrass Windsong Solo. So we saw this in the community, right? And then the kind of, the blade of grass kind of lasering to the sky here. Interesting piece, nice color, looks inverted and everything. Very cool, edition of 5 and sold out at 20 Tezos, pretty good. Let's continue. Renki, Echu Daemon, so a couple of works by Renki. Always interesting, changing the color of the grid. Just blue, super interesting. Here's another one with the white grid, edition of 1. And did that looked like it went to someone. Interesting how the grid's on top but not at the bottom. Sold for 20 Tezos. Interesting, put it for sale. One of one, Psychofuturist, The Fool. So the beginning of the tarot card, I thought pretty original, pretty rad to see a tarot done in this kind of CGI way. Pretty interesting. The Fool, almost always outnumbered, edition of 12. And look at this, selling out at 6 Tezos. The market is vibrant. Steven Dybus, Quality Time, edition of 30, just came out and sold, or not sold out. How many do we have left? 16, so half sold at 7 Tezos each. Let's see if we can play it. And they're kind of, I assume that's CGI. So Steven Dybus, some very interesting work. We've been looking at Steven's work for quite a while. I think since the first time we showed. Here's another kind of CGI plasticine artist, Stefano Colferai. This is Grapes, and 424 mints on Zora. That's pretty good. Very good. So interesting there. Let's continue. Here is Salawaki, his biggest catch. So again, playing with probably a trout. And a CGI or cutout, looks like a CGI person, but maybe, yeah, looks like it's rendered there. Edition of 20, made in Blender. That's what I'm wondering. JPEG by Salawaki. And did that sell out? Sold out at 6 Tezos. Amazing. And here is another one, all praises for Saint Trouty. And here we go again, and sold out. Edition of 25. Right. So it's getting interesting here from a market perspective. Very cool work, by the way, with the trout and the three singers here. The St. Trouty Choir. It's getting very interesting out here. No hygiene. I need to put out more work because I see the market freak out here in a good way. I'm freaking out. No hygiene. Here is AI, I believe raw AI, keeping the angel theme, keeping it wild. Where do you see the next one? Also on object, this is 200 Tezos, no hygiene. So commanding a premium on this one, and another wild work here by No Hygiene. Radical artwork, AI artwork from No Hygiene. This we saw, I believe, in the community Plague, The Residue of Thought 2024. Pretty cool. Kind of has almost like a Yves Tanguy or CGI kind of thing going on. Pretty interesting. Kind of looks like AI. Here's iLace, speaking of AI, music box number 5, AI Etude or AI Study, getting these beautiful textures again. And here is another one, music box number 2. Beautiful work here of ballerinas. And here's another one, some dancers, music box number 1. Very cool work, beautiful texture. Nice painterliness. Here's Scamra. This was picked up by Unknown Collector for 20 Tezos. Nice person on a computer, bringing back this series a little bit, Aura. And here's In the Sun, edition of 1, also picked up by Unknown Collector for 20 Tezos. So it's getting interesting, isn't it? Everything's selling. Toucan, 20 Tezos. This is still available. You can still get this one. It is AI by AI Sumason, and that, yeah, Scamra picked up a few of Toucan's works. Here's Quilanina, edition of 10, and actually this is acrylic and oil on canvas, so this is a physical. So just so you know, so physical rendered into NFT. tokenized, and edition of 10 for 5 Tezos, 1 sold so far. And here is Little Cakes. Good night. So I assume AI here, and Little Cakes, cool kind of AI video by Little Cakes. Check out the space we did, super fascinating. Poetry. This is by Canik Zapata. So more kind of wild. I think this is AI. I don't even know what this is anymore. This is some sort of poetry thing using Python. Maybe some sort of programming. It's a GIF, Python, Markov, JSON, PIL. Like, I don't even know what's going on anymore here. Very cool. Here's Rutger van der Tass, and this is a physical, I think. And there's a chip you can get. A lot of people are using this trace chip right now from Transient Labs. The dimensions of the artwork are 20, so pretty small, actually, interestingly, but I believe a physical. If I'm not mistaken, edition of 5 for 25 Tezos. As we go into the physicals, check this out. Welcome JPEG is the account. This is the artist Dan Hayes. Paints low-resolution landscapes pixels by pixel. So let me see if I can make this bigger. So check this out. As you go in, you start to see the brush strokes. Pretty rad, isn't it? I actually quite like how they did this on... so these are all kind of, it's almost like JPEG'd out, JPEG artifacts, as they'd call them, all celebrated and painted in oil painting. And again, how do you make oil painting new? This is how you do it, right? I think even Seurat, you think of Seurat here and you go, yeah, like I think the post-impressionists would be all over this, the divisionists. It's kind of a similar thing, but new. It's kind of amazing that you can be original with digital. But let me finish this show here before the computer collapses on me at the very end. Miriam Beghardt. Interesting airbrush work. We've been following all the airbrush work. It's not gallery posting that. Bondozo Bandito, screen flavor. Just always prolific and always just interesting. Gregorio Zanardi, interesting painting. Beautiful. 40 by 60 centimeters. Love the carpet. Love even the posture. Love the wall. This is going somewhere, Gregorio. Tim Lehan, after a few 90-degree days, here's a few melters from a while ago. So cool stop sign here. And bike. And chain. Very cool. And Bosque Gracias, who we saw the workshop from. You can do this at their workshop, cyanotype. Very interesting work here. And that is your show, my friends. I hope you enjoyed it. Have a great weekend. Be creative. Let's all mint a bunch of work. And until next time, take care.